the first Emirati DJ to go on a world tour. Working with artists such as Drake, Nicki Minaj, Wyclef Jean, French Montana. An absolute legend on Netflix, Dubai Bling. DJ Bliss, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for a great intro.
Thank
Appreciate
you. That
that.
was like my boxing intro.
It was really good.
So how are you?
I'm doing great. You know, life is great. It's just one of those moments where, you know, I'm like super grateful for the situation that I'm in. You know, I'm in Barcelona right now. We're in this amazing place. Yeah, I can't complain. No stopping it.
No stopping, indeed. So I want to I like to kind of start to get a little bit of context. As the show is called Feel It in Your Soul, there's those moments that lead us up to those Feel It in Your Soul moments. Tell me a little bit about kind of like life for young Marwan, you know, growing up. How did music kind of start playing out in your life?
Oh, taking me back. So I remember at a very young age, my brother was learning how to play the guitar, and he was traveling as well to the States. So right before he left, he bought this guitar. When he left and came back, he knew like a bunch of songs. So he taught us, and he started getting into a band. Next thing I knew, there was like musical instruments all around. So I was part of like learning all these instruments that we would play at home. And the DJ side kind of started in school. I used to run my high school radio station, and then also I wouldn't get invited to all the parties. So I thought if I was a DJ,
that's a great way.
Then I can do my own parties, or like at least, you know, be at the parties. That's really where it started from. But there was definitely a feel in your soul moment in terms of music, because everything I was doing was somehow leading me back to it. So whether it was radio, whether it was DJing, or, you know, anything that I was doing, it was very musically influenced. And, you know, I've had a long career in doing TV, radio, DJing, hosting, emceeing, but my first and real like true love, like my calling, was really DJing music.
And did you find kind of like explaining perhaps to your family that I want to go and take this on as an actual, you know, what I do for a living? Was it kind of well received?
You know, I get asked this question a lot because, as I'm sure you may or may not be aware, like within our culture, it's not a common thing for us, you know, one of the kids to say, I'm going to get into music, DJ, or any of that sort of like industry. But I think, one, I got a little bit lucky, and second thing is I always had a lot of respect for what my family would think about anything I did. So I tried to be, as respectful for my family and my culture, and it's my own values as well. So I think that really helped. And also, I was never just DJing. I was DJing and doing like radio, and I was doing TV. So my parents were saying, you know, don't do this. But when their friends came over, they're like, oh, look at our son. He's like, you know, hosting this radio show or this TV show. But, you know, the chatter was always around. I always say I was the black sheep of the family. I was the only one in media, and all my siblings were 5. We're all like multinational companies, like 9-to-5 jobs, suiting up in the morning. But, you know, now the tables have turned, and like my entire family is now in some way or form in the media industry. You know, my younger brother's a filmmaker, my sister's a pastry chef, like one of the most famous ones in the UAE. And my other 2 brothers, they got into media. They had their own show for a little while, and now they're also like dabbing a little bit in the media industry. So kind of like would like to feel like I inspired them also to follow their true passion. Or
I love that, because it does take someone to kind of break through a little bit, right?
Yeah.
That inspires. I mean, I know like sometimes I have like younger cousins, or, you know, that say, you know, when you went and done that, it made us feel that we could go and do that. And sometimes you need to like, there's always needs to be one person that opens that door that can help everyone else kind of level up and go, what do I really want?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's a tricky one, especially when you follow your passion. You know, we're in this society where you go to school and then you decide what you want to study in university, and after you finish studying university, you want to find a job related to that. So there's a system in place. So when there's this little calling and you appreciate the art on the wall, or a song that you like, or any kind of arts or entertainment, you know, it's always not the path that you think was chosen for you. So there's always this little resilience to, you know, chase after your interests, if you may.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
I get that. And in fact, like if I kind of think back, I probably, in my early kind of 20s starting out, all of a sudden thought, no, go get a proper job and go kind of like try and fit in the mold a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it took me a little bit of time to get to a space where I could be confident enough to listen to that inner voice. Where do you think that comes from, or how do you think you can cultivate just quietening down the noise that's going on around you and kind of finding out what is it that I want and kind of, pursuing that? How did that come to you? And how do you think, like, for other people who are listening to this, like, how do you quieten down the noise and go for what you want?
Well, I think exactly how you said it. And there was a saying or a quote that said, if you really want, someone to shatter your ideas, just go tell someone about it. And usually,
I love that.
Usually it is like that.
It's
if you
true,
go to someone with an idea that you have, there's a chance that they're not going to really understand, because you understand it in your core and your gut, like really what this feeling is. You'll only understand that feeling when you get it. And if you execute it, what the result would be. So I think a lot of times, this is the whole racehorse strategy where you don't pay attention to what's going on your left and right, and you just focus on the prize and the goal. And that's what it's really been for me. I mean, I came up with ideas, and sometimes they were great, sometimes they were a little crazy, but in order for me to get to where I was, I had to do all of those things to learn what I liked, what I didn't like, what felt right, what felt wrong. And at this point in my life, I really, been through so many experiences that I'm very much aware of what I like and what I don't like, and what feels good and what doesn't, and what is your calling, and just what's sort of like something you just let it pass.
And with that, I think when you do go for anything within that's not quite within the structure that was there from before you, going down the education route, going to university, and then perhaps getting that job. When you go a little bit more into, okay, this is creatively where I want to go, it also comes with the level of risk.
The glass is definitely half full. There's 50-50 chance. If I'm about to jump over this puddle, I'm definitely going to make it, is in my mind. But there is a slight chance I might not jump over the whole puddle, and my heels might catch and the water might splash everywhere. But it's a risk you're going to take. Like, the joy of the other side of making it is so good. And the lesson that you will learn by not making it is also a lesson that will help you do it better next time. So that's really my mentality. I don't really stop at anything telling me that I'm not going to make it. I think you're setting yourself up for failure right from the start if you
100%. I think I agree with you on that one.
I'm in, no matter what decision you take, you have to 100% go with that and live with the result. And when you have that kind of attitude, I feel like usually it works out a lot better for you.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you on that one. So when I was kind of reading through my notes, one of the things that really stood out was the first Emirati DJ to go on world tour. I mean, that's, really something to say that from somewhere where you come from, the first person to be able to go on a world tour. First of all, how did that make you feel, kind of getting that?
It's a little surreal for me. It's very new. It might not make sense to a lot of people listening, because they're like, oh, well, we have, DJs who fly out all over the world all the time, every place. Some people might, or somebody who has done it. But you have to understand, in the UAE, it's very uncommon because it's new, right? We just celebrated just over 50 years, of the United Arab Emirates, brand new country. People have really only been talking about it over the last 2 decades, maybe. Like, I remember at a time where, just out of high school, when we just started getting into like a different kind of social media chats and messengers, and we used to tell people in Dubai, they always say, where, what? And now it's like, it's turned into Dubai. It's like, wow, So I think that plays a sort of big role in, being able to do something like this. And for me, I mean, there's not a lot of DJs. There's a handful that I know of. And Dubai is a small place, or the UAE is a small place, and you would know. So to get that kind of recognition, I think it's amazing. I think it's too early right now, because what you have to do is you have to think about the generation to come, about the story that people will tell about you. And right now we live in a social media era where you want people to know, hey, I just met this person. I'm in this city and I just did this, and I'm behind the scenes, I'm backstage, and you're thinking really just right now, and I want you and that person to know. And you're not thinking about a history book that will come out one day. And when a story's in there about somebody who's done something monumental like that for the first time, and more than just being known for it, it's paving the way, because no one will ever have to ever go through this battle that I had to go to be able to do what I did. So the next person who's going to come in and can say, well, if he's done it, so can I.
Like you said, you don't ever have to go through that conversation again where someone's going, oh, I'm doing it for the first time.
Yeah.
So I'm sure kind of, in Dubai and in the UAE, there must be a lot of young people who are kind of looking at you going, DJ Bliss has done it.
Yeah.
I can like go produce music with some of the world-class greats like Drake and Nicki Minaj. How did you feel kind of like even just those doors opening up to it being kind of international, going to the US? How do you think it was like kind of received?
It's an interesting one because, people think that in Dubai, it's the easiest place to work with celebrities and do music. But I always tell people it's actually harder than you think. When you go to another place, it's not as appealing to people. They could, stay at home and you can catch them in the studio. I say when they're coming to Dubai, I'm competing with a guy who's got a tiger in his house, another person who owns a yacht, another guy has a private jet who's, you're competing with. We have this like jet ski that looks like a car. It's like a little boat. It looks like a race car, and you can race through. Like, that's the kind of stuff people want to do. They want to go to the world's tallest building and on this island and all of that. So it's a little bit difficult, but you have to also use it to your advantage. So what I told you earlier about Dubai is now people's eyes are on Dubai, so you can use it to your advantage. Fortunately, I'm in a great situation right now as well with a studio and a label that I've just signed with, so it really helps. And I really do feel like right now is the time for the change in the music culture, not only in the UAE, but in the whole Arab world. If you've been paying attention, there's a lot of songs that have been remixed and a lot of DJs from around the region who've been doing a lot of cool stuff. The sounds have kind of always been there. If you go back to like the Timberland songs or the influence from even Indian music and Arabic and African music, it's now becoming a world sound. And Dubai is that place. I always tell people, when you come to Dubai, it feels like a duty free when you walk in the mall and you don't know where you are.
I agree. I think Dubai is definitely coming into its own. And I do think that music is becoming so global, along with many other things, but music definitely. How would you describe your kind of sound?
Tough. Very tough question. I'm so into different sounds and all different cultures. And for me, I think about how we're going to make everyone dance and have a good time. So I don't like limiting myself to a genre or a style of music, but I think the most important thing is, the people who are listening to your music feel good. They get to relate to it, and it creates a moment for them. And, if someone can pull out that song and be like, oh, this is one of my favorite songs, or you hear it blasting in a car on the radio, and that's the moment where you've really made it. And I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to influence my sound by all these sounds that represent the UAE. And luckily, like I said, it's like a duty free. So there's people from all over the world. So let's take that music and mix it together. I've grown fond of dance music as well. It's just the more I hear it and see it, the energy and on a stage and the way people respond to it it's amazing. It's almost like therapeutic and healing. And I love all kinds of music and all genres, but I really feel like right now it's just like dance music or EDM is really, where my heart is calling me.
I love it.
I'm feeling it in my soul.
You're feeling it in your soul.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, I was watching some of your concerts that you've put on. They look absolutely epic.
Thank you.
So much must go into actually putting that together. Do you get involved with the whole kind of creative process of how you want the show to come across? How the lighting, the kind of all of that for it to marry up with the music. Do you get involved with that aspect of it?
I have done it. So, I come from a background of organizing parties as well. So I really know what I want and what goes into a great party. It's always, the DJ booth and the way we set it up. So I tried to get involved. I did one show about a year and a half ago. It was my first headline show in the UAE. And I also organized it. And it was stressful. It's not easy. Sometimes you have to learn to let go and, choose your battles wisely. So you find a good team to come in and organize that side of it for you so you can focus on the art. And I've been like, the jack of all trades always, and I wanted to do everything myself. But I've come to the conclusion that really, if you want to excel in one thing, and for me, it's really the music and the DJing, I have to put in 100%. I have a couple of businesses as well, and I felt like whenever I put 20% into everything, I was really getting 20% back in each thing. So I made a decision. I said, I really have to put everything aside, focus on what I'm good at, which is my art. And to be creative, you have to clear the space. I think we spoke about it right at the beginning, to clear the noise, to clear the space and just leave room only for you and creativity to produce the best music and go out there, perform and be in the best frame of mind and have the best, attitude and energy to give to the people.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that also comes with a little bit of age of when you're kind of in that kind of mode of, I want to do everything, you start to actually realize that for you to kind of have the impact that you want, you need to actually 110% be only in that moment. In fact, I was just talking before about when we came here, and I was like getting set up and there's phone calls coming through and you literally have to go stop to everything.
A lot,
and,
yeah.
And you've got to actually, it's a fine line to balance when you've got quite a few things. You're running a business, when you've got a business to run, you've got a show coming on, you're producing music. How do you kind of balance the kind of aspect of stress, of, over saying yes to too many things? How do you kind of create balance in your life?
Oh, balance is the key, I think. And I'm learning. I'm the student right now. I've always had an interest in things like meditation and healing and balance, for that matter. And you always know about it, but it's like when you get sick, you don't take supplements and whatever until you get sick, and then suddenly you know exactly what you need to take, all the vitamins and this and that. But I think the key is to always stay balanced so nothing catches you off guard. And you just have to practice. You have to practice, gratitude, practice taking care of your mind, your body, and your spirit. And you have to just keep reminding yourself, you're going to forget. It's like the pilot, right? When he gets on a plane, you always see the pilot opening the book and reading certain things. Of course, he knows how to fly the plane. He's the pilot of the plane. But he leaves no room for error. He picks up the book and he cross-checks everything. There's a co-pilot over there. There's a system in place which leaves very little room for error. And I feel like it's the same thing. You just have to remind yourself. You have to keep doing it over and over again. And once you get into a cycle or just repetitively do things for yourself to feel good, then the canvas is always perfect for you to do whatever you want to do.
I love that. And so do you think, in terms of like daily practices, is there anything that you kind of think, this is my absolute, like I have to do this in the day? It might be what you need to eat, or might be the way that you start your morning. Is there like a kind of way that Marwan feels like this is the way I need to start my day to make sure that I've got a good day for the rest of the day?
Yeah, I mean, I know exactly what I need to do.
You always do it?
Being able to maintain it every day is a little tough. I mean, one thing for sure is as soon as you wake up in the morning, your phone is just filled with emails and WhatsApps and DMs and notifications and all that. I think it's important for sure not to start your day like that. So, give yourself the first hour of the day and try to avoid any kind of interaction or just taking anything in, like things like news and social media just always catches you. You don't realize it. And even before you go to sleep as well, I was used to always pulling out my phone or watching just stories and stories and stories and articles, and just
it takes up a lot of brain space, doesn't it?
Even though you think it may not, you may think I'm strong enough.
Do you do anything in particular physically? Like, you hear these, I don't know, I think I was listening to Jay Shetty who's saying he puts his phone downstairs, or, all this kind of actually out of the room.
I'm not there yet.
Are you there yet?
I'm not there yet. I'm not going to lie. I'm
trying myself.
I'm on airplane mode I'm on airplane mode right now. But yeah, I mean, it makes total sense. We have this urge, this need, this feeling that it's FOMO, really.
Yeah.
But what are we really, what
I think
fear
it's
is
also
it?
become like, sometimes when I think about it, it's almost like this whole technological revolution, let's call it, that's happened with your social media channels and all of those. We haven't had those before. So we're kind of like we've got all this. So It's almost become like second nature. And I do think probably in like 10, 20 years time, there'll be much more kind of like, you you have it on for a certain amount of time, you switch it off, there'll be a little bit more structure around it. Whereas I feel like we're right in the middle of it all, and we're just trying to manage how you actually, tame the beast, as it were.
I don't know. I hope from your mouth to God's ears, because
I'm saying that.
I'm feeling like soon it's going to be in our, like a contact lens. And
that is true. The glasses have come out.
I'm going to be scrolling while we're doing the podcast. Hope not, but yeah.
And actually talking about that, obviously you're also a father.
Yeah.
So tell me how you kind of manage like home life. You're, also being out there and DJing. That also is like, let's say, antisocial hours. How do you manage that kind of, juxtaposition between the both?
A lot of people ask me this question when, like, my son Zaid was born. He's almost 6 now, and I told them it's actually the best job. He doesn't know that I leave the house because I put him to sleep. I'll go to work and I'll come back, and in the morning when he wakes up, I'm there. So it was actually perfect.
That actually works quite well.
It's not great for me because of my, the amount of sleep I get, but it's worked out perfectly for me. And nothing against anybody who's working a 9-to-5 job, but I get to spend a lot more time with them when I want. And we are busy sometimes, especially when we're like on filming schedules.
Yeah.
But it works out great. I love spending time with them. Like I've always loved kids. It's a type of meditation or kind of relaxing situation for me, even though they like can drive you up the wall, but just the time you spend with kids is just magical. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I've got 3 kids.
Mashallah, really?
So yeah, I've got 3 kids, and I've got to say that when you've got like lots going on, which is, your work, your DJing, and then something as basic as reading a book or like sitting down trying to work out a word, it just switches you off to everything else. It's a really good way to kind of ground you.
Yeah.
You can kind of like feel like when you get home, you're still kind of, your brain is going.
Yeah.
And then like my youngest is 2. And like, so she's just working stuff out for the first time.
Yeah, terrible.
And then I'm just like, oh, she did this. And it's the most like, basic thing. And it's like, you're so excited about it,
That's so true.
And they just bring it straight back to kind of like, oh, forget all the other stuff. This is so cute.
The thing with kids is, what I realize is they take you back to learning again. We forget about how things are so impressive. Like if my kids were here, they'd be staring at that neon sign right now, thinking how cool that neon sign is. And we've just forgotten to pay attention to, or this wall, how cool this is. The guy was telling us this is from back in the days where it was a bunker. Like for us, it may not be that impressive, but if like my daughter, she's like me, she has an eye, she'll say, why is there a crack in that wall? She'll pay attention to anything. And that's it. The curiosity for them is amazing. So there's so much to learn. I feel like it's a whole nother life once again with them. When we go out and they point at things, I'm like, it's amazing.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
What do they think of Daddy's music?
They love it.
They love dancing to it.
Who doesn't love dancing, right? It's so amazing. I was never really a dancer. I was in the DJ booth all the time. When I go to the club, when I'm not DJing, I don't know what to do myself.
DJs, it's the head movement. Like if you've got that down, I don't really see too many DJs dancing, but it's the kind of head movement going.
A little head movement.
Yes.
But with them at home, we're dancing all the time. Yeah, we're going all the time. Yeah, it's dance battles all day.
I love it. Love it. So just actually tell me, Marwan, what's the work that you've done for your own personal growth?
So a lot of things, but I think in specific, the thing that kind of really fast forwarded me to, really take it seriously was, I did this 4-week course with Alexander and Shayun at the Light Force, and at first, you always go there thinking, yeah, sure, throw me in a couple of meditation classes, tell me to close my eyes, breathe deep, and we're good to go. But, we went a little deeper this time. They started asking me questions and started really tickling my interest in terms of, why are we going to these places? Some of the meditation was the inner child and, things that have happened before. It could be, recently or something from your past. And I never really paid attention about it because honestly, if you asked me or if you see me or if you watch me online, you think that everything is perfect. That's the world we live in. But I think it's important to really dive deep and to try and figure it out. And sometimes it's not easy, and definitely wasn't easy for me. Even like going through this 4-week course with them when they were living in Dubai, there was times where I was like, I'm not sure if I really need this, and but you're equipped with the tools now in case a situation does happen. So I took it a step further. They moved to Kenya, and I did a whole like retreat with them over there. The lesson that I learned of how important that was when I came back to Dubai, and I was in the middle of a situation where I was completely caught off guard. And I really do believe if I hadn't done this work, that I wouldn't have been ready to deal with this kind of situation. And I know it might not sound like you put your finger on exactly what I'm saying, but what I'm saying is, why wait for something to go wrong to then look for the solution? Why not find the solution, work on yourself, just like how you go to the gym, just like how you eat healthy? Why not do the same for your mind? The most important thing,
absolutely,
to be ready for it. And actually, you'll be surprised. You scratch a couple of scratch and win cards. You'll be surprised what comes out.
Were you surprised at what came up?
Yeah.
And were you kind of feeling ready for that? Because I think, especially, I mean, I can't speak as a man, right? But society has, turned this man up, suck it up. It's always kind of like, don't lean into looking at your feelings too much or something that's happened, just brush it off and carry on. Do you think that moment to kind of stop and just take stock, was there like a bit of resistance to do that initially?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's a cultural thing as well, within our culture and the household that we grow up in. I think generations have changed so quick between what our parents used to live like and what we live 100%. Like. And for sure, as a Middle Eastern man, as a DJ in the entertainment industry who has to, uphold this profile online and in society, I think, the last thing I want to do is feel like maybe this is showing weakness, but it's actually not. It's actually strength. You come and look at yourself in the mirror and you say that I'm going to get to work and, fix everything. Because the question I used to ask myself, is it me or is it everyone else? And the thing you want to do really is to look in the mirror and look at that person and say, hey, let's start with you first. Because the last thing you want to do is go point fingers at everyone else and highlight things that you think are wrong, that's not working on your situation, where you haven't done the work for yourself. And like I said, when you scratch, when you start looking, you start finding things. It could be something so little that you thought never even
registered.
Registered. I remember there's a story when like my grandmother passed when I was really young. I was my mom's mom, and I remember that story so perfectly, but not until I got into a meditative state. And when I did, and I don't mean I was mid-meditation, when I was practicing my meditation, I did, they have a blessings meditation, which you have to do for a month. And I did it after a month. It's difficult at the first day. I would zone out quick. But after a month, I kind of felt more familiar with the state. And, when I got into the state, a lot of things were coming to me. And it wasn't during my meditation. It wasn't during my sessions. It wasn't during times where I was, with myself. It came out of nowhere, but it's because I was doing the inner work. I was doing the work needed to get to that feeling. And it was just something so simple. I remember my dad picked me up instead of my mom that one time, because my mom always picked us up. And we walk in. As soon as we open the door, he says to us, by the way, guys, I have bad news. Your grandmother passed away. And that story it wasn't really heavy for me until when I was in the middle of this whole retreat that I was in. That story just came to me like,
wow.
And it was a difficult story. I felt like, the way I was told, and my mom wasn't there, the person who I always wanted to be with. And I cried, and it was okay to cry. I always wanted to hide if I was crying, but it was therapeutic, but it was a different cry. It wasn't sadness. It was just kind of realization. And now I understood this, and I came to terms with it. And now I can sit here and tell you that story without a straight face. Whereas that when it first came to me, it was, I was just breaking down every time I'd say it. And there was a lot of stories like that. And it's a beautiful thing. It's amazing when you have these stories.
That's super powerful.
Yeah. And it makes you cry, and it really breaks you down until you come to a point where you can tell the story with a straight face and just conquer that relationship with that story. So it's a real beautiful thing. And I'm still a student. I'm learning every day, and I'm grateful to have amazing people in my life, and there's great stuff. And then what you're doing, by the way, over here is a beautiful thing. You know, you're creating opportunities for people to watch and listen to content which can benefit them, and that's an amazing thing. So
Thank
you
you,
really,
honestly.
congratulations to you as well.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing that so openly. We have all these personal moments that only you or you and your siblings or you and your household know.
Yeah.
Most of the time as you're growing up, you kind of feel like that hasn't affected you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not until like at some point with something like this, with the Light Force Center, that you actually stop and you understand that there was hurt there.
Yeah.
And you're able to move forward from that. By sharing that, I think it allows a lot of us to actually look back at our own life. So I really appreciate your honesty and just really kind of being authentic with where you are right now and the journey that you've been on. That was honestly,
it's true story, by the way.
That was really beautiful.
Thank you.
To listen to that.
Yeah, and that's what people want to know. I think we hide a lot of the,
because what you do when you do that is you give people permission to go, oh, I felt like that.
Yeah.
Right. That's so powerful, right?
Yeah.
To go like, it's okay, like that I felt so hurt by that. It's actually giving people the permission, which I think, like, you know, we don't have that. We kind of feel like, suck it up, like, you know what I mean? Don't like dwell on the.
It's like ego.
Yeah.
Yeah, your ego. People usually think ego is just a term used in the fame world, but there's ego every day. There's your own ego with yourself, and as soon as you put this ego away and stop caring about what everyone else thinks and what would happen, and just be at peace with yourself. That's
so true. And I'm going to tell you something about ego, just to share something personally from me. I started obviously doing this meditation, right? And I run a business. My brothers joined my business.
Yeah.
I sometimes can be a bit like, I've told you, and I will revert into like a little bit of like entitlement, being the oldest sister.
Yeah.
And I had to stop myself, and I was like, and you can't, that's unreasonable to talk like that. And I actually went and apologized to my brother, and I went, I'm really sorry. I know as the big sister I can be a bit big sister, but actually I don't deserve to talk. You don't deserve to be spoken to like that. And I don't want to be that person that when I'm feeling in a space where I'm a bit upset, I opt to be the one that shouts. Yeah. You know? So it's also giving a little bit of permission when you go back to something and you unpick it. Yeah. You give yourself permission to rethink about, is that the way I want to show up? Yeah. Like I had to just go, I don't want to show up like that. I don't want to be that
The realization
person.
you had was amazing too. But you got to also remember, it's not always you. And it's okay to feel like that.
Yeah. And it's okay. Like, it's okay. Like we have those moments.
And then for me, especially like in the music industry, like we talk about followers, but I'm not looking for followers. I'm looking for my tribe now. And as soon as you wave your flag and this is who I am, whoever comes along, it's so much better for these people to come along on your journey. You've built your tribe than to have like millions of people and you're not sure if they really connect with you and your values. And I think for me in my music journey, this has become important now. And before I feel like I needed everyone, now I'm like, no, I need like-minded people.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you on that. And I think, you know, what you're doing is amazing.
Thank you.
So just actually, obviously you've been on Dubai Bling. Yeah. How can we not speak about Dubai Bling, which I literally binge watched. First of all, I've been fascinated by Dubai. And there might be a prospect that we're coming out to Dubai.
Amazing.
I know. And so I thought, Dubai Bling is on. Let me just see. Let me just get myself in the Dubai mode. Yeah. So tell me, like, how is it kind of being on a kind of reality TV?
It is big question.
Yeah.
It's got its ups and downs, and it's a tough decision that you're going to make. You know, when you go into reality TV, you think you're going to put your whole life on the line. And doing it for the first time, once again, it's the first, I think I'm the first Emirati guy who's ever been on a reality TV show. So it wasn't like I could call other people and get some information.
Quite a lot first, actually, for you, yeah.
Yeah, it was, I definitely felt it in my gut. This is going to be risky and you don't know what you're getting yourself into. And one of the things they always told us is you don't get to watch the show until it comes out with everybody else.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how it is.
That's quite nerve-wracking to sit down and watch it then for the first time.
But I made the decision. I said I'm going to go there. I'm going to be myself and stick to what I believe in, what my core values are. And and not try and do something that's not me, and hope for the best. And we've done 2 seasons, which is out. Third season, which we just finished filming a couple of weeks ago. It's been a great opportunity. Again, just looking at the positive sides of it. For me, I said I'm going to go on there, and the whole world hopefully will get to know me, and I can go do what I want to do, which is perform and DJ and make music for people around the world. And that's what it did for me. And I'm so grateful for it. I get to travel more, which is what I love. I get to make more music and just focus on the things that I love doing. And that Dubai Bling has really given me the platform for that.
So one of the things that came up when I watched it is obviously there was that situation where your wife was starting her business.
Yeah.
And I wanted to first of all thank both you and Netflix for actually portraying this in the kind of context of these are the conversations that we all have at home.
Yeah.
But no one really says it. How important do you think it is to actually show those realities of life? Because I actually think it helped a lot of us kind of go, oh, wow, we didn't look at it. We haven't really even spoken about it, because I think it's a reality that we all kind of live in.
Yeah. I mean, you picked up on a pretty important part, I think, of, our storyline on season 2. So a couple of things. One is with the show, with a reality show, you're getting a glimpse into a small part of our lives, and a very small part of the entire conversation that we also had over there. But for sure, that story was there. And I think you picked up on it pretty nicely in terms of how you laid it out. Not everyone did. I did get some backlash, and people thought this was a little too aggressive, or, we're not really sure where this is coming from. And it kind of caught me off guard, to be honest with you, because it wasn't exactly how I felt like I explained my side of the story. It wasn't exactly how I expected it to roll out. And I didn't expect, a lot of the reaction that came to as a result of it. So what do you do? The show's out December, and we start filming again in January. And, the show comes out again November this year. So to answer in short, you'd have to wait till season 3's out to see how we deal with this. Unfortunately, that's how the show works.
But do you think, kind of like, just from my perspective as being a working mother, that it's actually important that we actually do come out with the honesty of sometimes how these things come up in a marriage, in a relationship, and the fact that sometimes those questions come up, that you then are able to talk about it and work it out, is actually part of being in a relationship and in a marriage. It isn't like, it's sort of all roses every single day. I think I just wanted to actually say thank you for showing that, because it was like, I think I've got quite a modern relationship, but it came up for us because we live in a time where we're trying to do so much, all of us. The guy and the woman in the relationship. Marriage is very, very different to what it was 20, 30 years ago.
Absolutely.
And I think as women as well, and I think you'll probably agree with me on this, that, we look after our kids, we have aspiring careers. And even for us, sometimes we're like, I'm doing it all. It's quite exhausting, you know? So I think kind of like showing the realities of what happens in a relationship, what comes out, and how you then work it through is kind of what we need to see, rather than just like the kind of rose tinted, hey, we all got it completely perfect, or we completely got it all worked out, because it's not really like that in reality, It's not. The little frictions that happen, that's the way we work through stuff, right? So I
mean, it's like Instagram posts or videos. When you watch food reviews, you've never really watched a food review and someone spat the food out and said, "This is terrible." No, it's always, "This is amazing." It can't always be like that. You can't face app every single picture and not really tell people what's going on. Eventually, it's almost turning into someone's manifestation, and now someone thinking, this is reality. This is the way a picture is supposed to look, and this is how a video is supposed to look, and this is how life is, and
it's that, I think, just following on from that overexposure to perfection, and we don't have perfection. part of life is working through some of those kind of like frictions that we have that go on in life,
100%.
you know, with your children or, you know, different parts of your life. So I think that was really, in fact, I thought it was actually really portrayed really well, because it felt really real for a lot of couples that were sitting there on the sofa going, that's really come up for us as well. So thank you.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, it was definitely a real conversation. You know, and I always told everyone, I said, you'd have to listen. You have to read the whole book to really understand everything. You know, you read one chapter and you have to wait. It was a little open. Thank you for, you know, noticing. And I really appreciate the words on that. And I hope that, you know, people watched all of it with an open mind, because it could, if you picked what you want from it, it could be a little tricky. Like I said, exactly what I wanted to do when I first got into the show. I said, if I try to be somebody else, I'm going to end up being an actor. I'm not an actor. It's a reality TV show. And as much as sometimes you question the authenticity of how real it is, that's what I did for sure. You know, I came and I said, let me just be me.
I think, Marwan, it really does come through the authenticity of who you are.
Thank you.
You're exactly the same person here right now to what we see on screen. And it's a really, really beautiful thing. And I think we need more of that. You know, we need to feel that people have three-dimensional characters. And also the fact that sometimes you can have you can say something, you can have an opinion, but then you can also reflect and go, do I still think that? Because we are constantly evolving, right?
Yeah.
And I always feel like we kind of sometimes live in a time where it's like, oh my gosh, that means that, you know, that's gospel for right now. And you're like, in a couple of days, things change. Next year, things change. That is part of our evolution and growth, right?
Absolutely. I'll come out sometimes and I'll say, in one of the episodes, actually, I say I'm working on my diet. I'm not eating carbs. And then the next scene, I'm eating something. And someone commented, how could you say you're not eating carbs? And I'm like, well, I decided that I want to eat carbs yesterday. And today I want to eat carbs.
Yes, today is a new day.
That's the
Today
good thing.
carbs are needed. Yeah. So I know that you've also been on a, you know, bit of a spiritual path in terms of connecting with yourself. I think, you know, spirituality is as much about the internal, the journey of oneself, understanding oneself. Tell me a little bit about, you know, how how that's been going for you.
It's been beautiful, honestly. I would say over the last year and a half, I've been really like diving deep into sort of my mental well-being spiritually and just taking care of myself. And it's been beautiful because it's now made a lot of things more clearer. It's given me balance. It's allowed me to go inside and find my real, true inner calling and what I want to do. And like, I'm very much aware that I love doing I love playing all sports. It's allowed me to really just, you know, find what it is that I feel like is my true calling, what I love, and go out there and just do it to the best of my capabilities and allow me to be also in the best state of mind. And those things are super important. I don't know how I did it without it before. You know, I wish somebody had told me earlier. I mean, I kind of knew, but no one sat me down and said, you know, really sit down and clear it and then, you know, meditate and get yourself ready for your journey and get ready for greatness. I always knew I was chasing greatness all the time. You know, people used to say you're a perfection. And I said, okay, and what's wrong with that? I just like things to be perfect. It's not a bad thing. I think this was like a real missing key for me to clear all the noise, all the stuff that I didn't need, and really put even more energy into something I wanted. Because I've always been like that. You know, when I felt like I wanted to go do something, I would go do it. And now I do it even harder, even stronger, even better.
Do you feel like that kind of inner journey that you've gone on? And I do think that, you know, a lot of the time in life, everything is outside of ourselves, right? So we're rushing to that next thing. And it's not until you start stopping and going, oh, wow, like there's a journey that's within. You know, there's the greatness that's outside, there's the greatness that's inside that you can actually tap into. Do you feel like going in that kind of, in that path where you have really started to connect internally, that has a major kind of like impact also on your music and your art?
For sure. Well, I'll speak for myself. I was always looking for answers everywhere and in everything, and looking for this artist feature and this situation and this label. And I felt like I was always looking for answers everywhere outside when really I should have just been looking inside. The answer is really within you. And that's the biggest realization. When you stop having to depend on people and you appreciate your own greatness and you can really tap into your own mind and your own body for that matter, and when you start taking care of your whole body and your mind, and you'll be amazed what the universe does and gets to work with.
Amen. Amen to that. Absolutely. So we have a closing tradition.
Nice.
On the show. First of all, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you for having me. It's been amazing.
The closing tradition is, I came up with this because I feel like there's a gift of hindsight that I wish I could give my younger self.
I know, right?
I really wish I could.
It was when we were young and people used to tell us stuff. They're like,
yeah, probably I wouldn't have listened.
They always said, when you grow up, you will understand. I'm like, what are they saying?
I know. So I thought, okay, I can at least give that gift of hindsight to our listeners.
Yeah.
So what gift of hindsight would you give your younger self?
Oh, man. I wouldn't change anything. And I feel like I knew it, but I just wish somebody else told me. And hopefully this is somebody telling you right now, is to never give up. At that moment where you want to give up is probably the moment right before you're about to do something really amazing and really great. And I've tried to explain this concept to people before, but not everyone understands it. But really, if you want to achieve greatness, you really have to give it your all and go all out. And you have to be willing to knock on every single door. And sometimes there's something behind that door and sometimes there's nothing. But if you sit over here and try and figure out what's behind those 10 doors, you will never figure out. So that's just always been me. Always knocked on every single door until I found the answers that I was looking for. And just never gave up. I'm still learning. I'm still here right now, and I still have that same hunger that I did the day I started.
I love that. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor.
Thank you very much.
I've taken so much from that myself.
And I hope we see you back in Dubai.
Absolutely.
And we should do this again.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if you like karak. Do you like chai karak?
Oh my God. I was about to say, next time we're bringing karak.
Next time?
That's my thing.
Yeah.
I
own a karak spot. Next time
I need to go there. Yes. Okay, we're doing it.
Deal?
Are we doing it?
Perfect.
Okay, we're doing it. DJ Bliss, everyone.